Okay, so you can go ahead and call to order. It's recording. Yep.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the reading and approval of the minutes for our April 21st meeting, 2022. We need a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make that motion, Aaron.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
On to the finance report.
I'll make a motion to accept the cash detail, the check detail as presented.
Second on that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. And I will make a motion to accept the cash flow statements as presented.
Second on that.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 3.
Item 3, we may remember that some of us were a transition committee as we were transitioning to new leadership, and we reviewed all the policies. One item that we undone was the sick time and how we were going to handle sick time and sick time accrual. April and I have reviewed this. We have also spoken with retirement system. I would like to make a recommendation to the board that we adopt as part of our HR policy that the IDA opt into what is known as the Retirement 41J program. What that allows is for individuals who are employees to accrue their sick time up to a maximum of 180 days, 165 days. When that person retires, that accrual is not paid out in cash. It is valued and becomes part of an additional credit to your retirement time. So if you had 160 days of accrued sick time, it might give you up to an additional 6 months of retirement system that becomes part of your permanent retirement benefit. So the individuals who are employees get to accrue that time. There is no cash payout upon separation of service, but it does accrue to the value of your retirement service. So when we left this discussion, earlier this year, it was, cash payout for sick time or find a way to allow to continue to accrue it. But with the benefit going instead to the retirement system. So I'd like to make a recommendation that we, for all hires of the IDA, the IDA opt into the 41J program. There is a fee of $200 to do this that comes from the retirement system.
And I agree with your recommendation, Maggie. I don't know if anybody has any discussion or anything you want to add to that. We need a motion to opt into the 41J program. So I'll need a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And
I'll second
any a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Maggie, for researching that and heading it up, and it's good to be able to wrap that up.
Okay, so then item number 4, well, thank you for doing that too. The ABO asked us to do the investment audit, which is completed. We're in compliance. It's been posted to the website. And in the future, I'll try to roll that right into our regular audit. So it's just a second sheet that audits the investments and bookkeeping.
Okay.
Do we need to accept it, or is this just an update?
This is just an update.
Okay. All right.
I've got one item to add, item number 5. Keith has a couple of disclosures he wanted to deal with before we got into project updates. So I'll let him verbalize those so they're recorded in the record is the main thing we want.
I had contacted Eric and Paul this past month. I've been at my same location on Route 23 by the bridge approach for since 1998, so about 24 years. I purchased some of the property in 2015. Last year, I bought more property that from my neighbor who had passed. My landlord passed, bought the property. These folks passed. I bought that property from Ripwink Realty. The total includes about a little over 5 acres. And with that, it bordered the CSX railroad. Unbeknownst to me, I was contacted by Coates within a month, 5 weeks ago, and they had let me know that the Champlain Hudson Pipe Power Express was coming down that section, and they had to cross approximately a 24-foot by 25-foot by 31-foot point on the land that I purchased last year. To complete that section, they had missed it with maybe the prior owner or with me or whatever. So they offered me $5,500 as a utility easement, I believe they called it, to cross the property, which included the fee for that, some legal fees, and a signing. If you did it within 30 days, they give you a bonus to sign it. So the three fees totaled that $5,500. So in truth of transparency, I wanted to make sure the board knew that Paul knew that Eric knew that the public knows that, so that I don't believe there's any conflict of interest, but in the interest of full disclosure, I did want to bring that forward. And even more important is after they did this with me, they contacted me for a laydown yard because they knew I owned the property. My property was not large enough. They passed, so there was no further financial transaction. And I did refer them to a local realtor that has properties up and down 9W where they're looking for. And I also referred them to a property up in the Rabina area that I had been told in the past that had a laydown yard near the railroad tracks. So I just passed those names along. But again, in the interest of disclosure, I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. So, and I will leave a copy of this for the file, just,
Okay.
This is a copy of the letter and a copy of the check.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks, Keith. All right. On to project updates.
Okay, project updates. So we are moving along with the Carroll Water and Sewer Extension, working with Santos Associates now. They've been hired to update the survey over there. Delaware Engineering is lining up someone to do soil borings for both that location and our exit 21 East. We're just waiting for the surveys to be done. And then Delaware Engineering is also drafting a memorandum of understanding for the town of Caro and Greene IDA, some simple who's responsible understanding of tasks. So that's a Caro update. Any questions on Caro?
Nope.
Okay, Freepoint Solar, they contacted me, give me an update. They're going to be doing an electrical connection in mid-June, followed by a test period to make sure safeguards are in place. And they hope to be operational by mid-June July. And then, so as part of our agreement, Freepoint has agreed to pay a STEM, like a pilot payment to the school. So that I created that invoice and sent them their pilot schedule, which starts in January.
It'll actually be a pilot, not a host fee.
No, it's a pilot for their STEM programs, an agreement, which both those are in the finding statement. So once they're up and running, I will give you another update. But if you drive past Pegasus, right across from Pegasus, they're starting to put in trees and berms. I think it's looking good.
Yeah.
Any questions on Freepoint? No. Athens Gen. So Athens Gen has done their appraisal. They have shared it with the town, county, and school. Tuesday, they met, town, county, and school to discuss next steps. And it is kind of, the ball is in the town's court because they're the assessing jurisdiction. They're the only ones who can set the assessment. So all I've been doing is trying to facilitate, making sure these meetings are happening. And then once the assessment is set, then if they want a pilot, that'll be later this summer, another discussion. But that's my update right now. Everything's kind of
To come to us
Yeah.
for the ask.
true.
And the application for what is happening.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So that's it on Athens Gen for now. Under our parks projects, exit 21 East and exit 21 West are getting going. For the hotel site, the deed is being finalized. They're scheduling a closing. Renee just got back in town, so he's helping me review. There's some language in there for restrictions of where you can put the cut in for the parking or the driveway. So we're reviewing that language again. But hopefully we'll be closing on that deed. Once the deed is closed, the county can flip it to our LDC. So that's the 2.2 acres. Then we can combine it with the regular lot. So yeah, 6.97 acres or something like that.
Is the 2.2, that's not the throughway property?
Yeah, that is.
It
It
throughway property.
kind of goes right around to the front,
Mhm.
the whole, like a U around
Okay.
the 4 acres that we already own.
All right. I didn't realize it was quite that much.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll, nice bump out on the side and the front. After it gets closed and we acquire the land, then we already commissioned the appraiser, the appraisal, so just waiting on that. That should be like in the next couple of weeks. Then we can decide the value of per acre, move forward with that. Stewart's is ready. Not sure if it was Donna who asked, but they are interested in putting charging stations at that site.
Well, I think there's something coming down from the state that is like a requirement or.
Right,
I read
it's
some
gonna be
things at
new,
stores,
yeah.
like, how are we gonna pay for this? They're
Right.
not cheap. So it doesn't surprise me that they would put a charging station. I think there's still a little ambiguity on who pays for the charging, how does that whole scenario work, but I wouldn't be surprised at minimum they carve out a space for it and then deal with it later. As it's a little unclear yet how it's all going.
Okay. So survey's underway, appraisal's underway. I just received the agreement from Delaware to review. They're going to do the design for the site entrance, extension of water and sewer into the site, the bid documents. And then we received a second RFP for the hotel site. I am meeting with Warren and Renee on Wednesday to review both packages, compare the RFPs. We have not moved forward with that yet because we're waiting on the appraisal and the deed. So once we have that, we can present some options to the board after that.
I think we go with best and fastest.
Best and fastest, best use of
Right.
the
Nice
site.
value.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but we do have 2 interested parties now.
And I think model might be interesting given, what extended stay versus short-term stay, I'll be curious to see what people are looking to put money into, given the fragility of a lot of things out there.
Okay, and that's what I'm hoping is hopefully
Yeah.
we can move on this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Stoppage here.
Definitely by the June meeting, we'll have something because we're meeting and we'll get going on that.
Okay. Expect the appraisal indeed by June.
Definitely. It's been 4 weeks already. So they said 6 weeks for the appraisal, so. And then Santos has the preliminary surveys done. We're just waiting for the deed, the final deed from the thruway.
Right, that's I wouldn't use the word definite when you're, we've been, 3 years with the throughway?
It has.
Right, yeah.
We've entered into no agreements with either of the 2 parties that
No,
are submitting RFPs
just
at this point.
Verbally been talking with them, received information from both. And then once we have our meeting with the team, as the county is part of the team for the hotel site, I can go back to them and ask for more information and things like
I
that.
think what you do, maybe, April, is, just make them put in a best and final proposal. And, that should include evidence of franchise, evidence of financial commitment,
Mhm.
experience. And,
A lot of this is in that RFP.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying to you, you make them put a best and final up, and then you guys we can evaluate it or however you want to do it. But
Okay.
that's how I think I've seen it done.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul.
No problem.
Okay, so moving on to, or any questions on the hotel site? Okay. For exit 21 West, as-built drawings, so the sewer that runs in front of where the houses used to be, in front of the medical facility, the boundary line is kind of wavy. So we're going to fix that so that the sewer is all in the town's land. So we're working on that right now. And then Santos can do a final survey of the rest of the property, the 60. So there's kind of 3 parcels right now, the medical facility area, the area up and back, and then the garage. So we're still working on those 3 sites. The county has signed the contract with Central Hudson to proceed on extending the natural gas, so that's been
Now,
signed.
Did I understand it correctly that the climate proposals, switching to all electric, that got withdrawn?
I
I was
didn't
actually told that.
climate.
The climate, no.
Well, withdrawn, not in the garbage can, but.
Well, the law remains the law.
Okay.
So I forget, I think they call it the climate
The
something.
directive.
Well, it was a law.
Okay.
Then the plans came out.
Right.
From the agency, the state agencies that are overseeing the climate change targets, I guess might be. So a number of those proposals, they're out around the state. And so I know that there have been public comments that people have been offering on them.
Yeah.
I don't know that they have been withdrawn. I think that they're out for public comment before they finalize targets for each. But you guys know this because I've been, my concern frankly is for everybody who's left here with all the power going downstate. Like, I don't know how businesses, frankly, and homeowners are ever going to be doing this. And with the oil and gas markets so disruptive.
I was told by a guy who represents a gas guy, and he was like, that's because, it could disrupt.
Well, there's certainly been commentary like that. In fact, there was some commentary in the press earlier this week from 2 people who sat and or sit on the Public Service Commission. I don't remember if they're still active members, but both of them have said that and I'm paraphrasing from remembering, that what the public is not fully embracing, they're embracing the goals, but what they're not embracing is that they're paying for it, and they don't know how they're going to pay for it, and so it's going to be not just built into bills, but at the point that you have to get natural gas and or electric.
If your furnace goes and you have to replace it with
Right.
electric, you literally
Right.
have to retrofit your whole house.
Correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. People didn't know fully what was in there and the ramifications of that.
Well, so one of the things, April, I've been thinking about this, and I think I talked briefly with April about this a couple of months ago. I was thinking that in our applications for incentives for any IDA project, and I'm thinking about this even with the hotel. Should we be including a section around energy? What kind of energy do they intend on using? How are they thinking to comply with the state's goals? So that we know, and perhaps, now I'm way over my skis, but the state is putting a lot of money on the table for heat pump, those kinds of things. So for especially for things like hotels, right, and these big projects. I know that we're extending the natural gas line, but at least if we ask, we have a sense of what they're doing, because I don't know how we're all going to be held to these targets.
Especially when you look at like Columbia Memorial Building.
Exactly.
You have to. So I'm glad that we're moving forward on that line,
Yes.
because we got to get some of those things happening. We can't just assume this stuff's going to go away and never.
Right.
Something's going to come out of it.
But I still think that we should be asking people, even if, and I don't know that we can help them, but maybe we help connect them with whether it's solar or geothermal or whatever it
It's
is.
a good idea to be out in front of it. That's
Right,
as far as at least knowing it, having it on our radar, what their intention was. Maybe there'll be a scenario where if they get that in early, that's their intention, maybe it will be allowed in a grandfathering type scenario. Hey, this changes the whole dynamic of the project if we can't keep or use this kind of energy.
I mean, anything, as I think about it, we were talking about the project that was in the newspaper recently. I bet you could up the mountain spend $27 million on just trying to energy retrofit anything, just because of where you are and the length of lines, et cetera. So maybe it wasn't on the furnishings. Maybe it was just trying to get the power of it
It's
to.
a complete deal killer. I mean, that's,
Well, in going down that vein then is based on the amount of money that Central Hudson is saying they're gonna need to extend that line. Do we have a need to thoroughly vet what the state may be pushing by the time shovels are in the ground at either of these sites? That, are they gonna maybe come back and say, well, this does have to be an electrical facility, and we just spent $1.5 million on a gas line?
Right, I think right now what's important is to get anything done that we can get done. What they're gonna end up with is very unclear. My understanding was it's taken off the table because you got an election coming up and we're gonna revisit this
Yeah.
next year, so we just wanna make sure whatever.
I don't think it went away. I think they've extended the public comment
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, I think it'll get pared down, or there'll be a fee or a permit or
I would think with anybody for these projects, we should at a minimum be just asking so we're aware.
Yeah, just have
And
an
in fact, and
inventory.
it may actually open up a conversation with Central Hudson and or any other solar projects or other people coming in, ways to kind of keep some of that power here and direct it. Help the county meet its targets
Well, I think
by
where it
keeping
can
some
help us
local.
is there's probably gonna end up being some sort of appeals process of, hey, we're gonna do this project, but now that you're gonna make it electric heat, it's not possible. If we have it documented early that this is how they intended to
Right.
energize this place, now the whole deal's gonna go south. Maybe there's a,
Right,
Do you think they really care?
no, I
no.
don't.
No.
But I don't think they care with any of us.
Policy at a level that's,
Yeah, I think it's just the only thing, it's not a bad idea just to have it that, hey, a year ago, they said this is what they were gonna do, and now here we are, and now the whole thing's gonna get killed.
just to continue that, I think it goes back to some of the things that Paul said about what we're looking for in some of these RFPs is, do we look for this? And I think it's a good idea to flush that out a little more. Maybe the hotel may be looking at electric.
Right.
For its primary source, which
Central Hudson has.
right.
Right,
For now.
For now,
And it
right.
doesn't cost $1
And it
million to get it there.
They have an unlimited supply.
I mean, and
Well,
the hospital, I mean, when you start thinking about what a medical facility needs, they don't need just electric and or natural gas. When you think about what you need to generate an MRI or a CT scan and all sorts of things around that.
so I think timeliness, what I was, adding to Paul's thing is that the timeliness of this to make sure that is within the period of maybe us being able to do business as normal
Right.
before, Big Brother says this.
Right.
Yep.
We could start with the RFP with the hotel, but then I'll look at updating the.
Well, Stewart's has usually been pretty ahead of certain things. And I say this, that we might also want to be asking them, I mean, what do I know? Solar panels on the store, solar panels on the gas overhang, things, something that, what are they thinking? How are they thinking as a business about self-reliant sorts of things?
Yeah.
I can tell you that a solar panel screws up your roof. And I have to tell you, I think anyone who puts those things on their houses is crazy.
Yeah, you're right, Paul, there's a coming set of problems with all these that have been put on there, there's gonna be all getting taken off one day to deal with a roof issue.
Yeah, I'm just telling you,
It's like satellite dishes. You're
Yeah,
cutting a
I-
hole in your, you're cutting a hole in your roof. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, or is that it for?
I think that's it on, so the county also signed a contract with CPL, which is their engineer firm, to go ahead with the design. So we can see if we can fit 3 pads in the
Okay.
front there. So that would be Columbia Memorial, the county,
Okay.
and then another pad. But I'll wait and see what they come up with.
Okay.
So that's it on exit 21 West.
Keith wanted to go into.
I think I'm satisfied with what I've heard.
Oh, okay.
Because really what I was looking for is, have we entered into any contracts on whether with stewards or the hotel or
We have to
anybody?
wait for the final deeds,
Right.
then our
We haven't entered
surveys,
into
the
anything.
appraisals, and then we
So-
can come up with a negotiated price.
All right.
Do we know,
there are none.
All right, okay.
do we know how the soil test came back on the?
Not yet. They were doing it the first couple weeks of May for the
Okay.
garage.
Okay.
And then I was going to follow up with them, but I'm trying not to be pushing them. But they're still very interested in the garage.
one other thing I just wanted to update the board on, I met with Renee last time he was back.
Mhm.
And we just had to, we obviously talked about all the other topics, but the one not on the agenda, we did talk about that's early in development, is the cement plant, the Catskill cement plant sites, and really just trying to develop a plan, an overview, and, some ideas on the table of what we're gonna do down there. Biggest hurdle we have right now is just literally getting an ability to talk to somebody that will talk to us, cement plant ownership wise.
Okay, so we're not really developing a plan. We're trying to reach out to the people who own, we're trying to understand what the current owners' plans are and whether they're in, right.
Well, and maybe back
they're
up,
interested.
to see
Right.
if we can develop.
Right,
a plan.
exactly,
We can't
right.
even do that
Yep.
if we can't even talk to the
Correct.
owners. And
Yep.
so that's really where we're
All right.
at, is just trying to find a body that won't hang up the phone on us.
Right, so what triggered that was we had some leads come down from the state on wind turbines, and they need to be on the Hudson, and those parcels seem perfect for it, but I connected the taxing people who pay their taxes for Lehigh and the developers, and nothing is happening,
And they
so.
were a qualified, capitalized bunch, and I even tried, because when this came along, there was another party that I'm aware of that had some interest down there. And so I said, geez, we gotta see,
It's all about economic development.
we couldn't
So
even
if we
get a
can
call back or
assist.
anything.
Mhm.
And when we look at that site, as far as we're looking at it as an IDA and inventory in the county, that is a unique site that you'll never get back again if we ever lose it, because it has rail, deep, I think there's deep water, I don't wanna call it deep water port, but there's basically you can dock a ship there. And those are unique features that once they're gone, they'll never come back. So Renee and I were just kind of kicking around ideas of like decentralized distribution. There could be a lot of different things down there with rail and with water access. These turbine projects they're working on. So we just want to start a conversation with cement plant, and so far we haven't had any luck. I think we're going to have to, we talked about getting.
It's Lehigh? Is it Lehigh who owns them?
That
Yeah.
site is definitely Lehigh.
Yes, and they're, I think they're headquartered in Texas. and-
That's one of the locations where their tax bills get sent, so I'm not exactly sure, but there are some local
We need
contacts.
to talk to like a C-level
Yep.
employee, because right now we're getting all these gatekeepers that are just hanging up the phone on us, shutting us out or whatever. We need to find a body, either to have a political guy that we talked about,
Yep.
maybe reaching out to Schumer's office, somebody making a phone call, finding out where this CEO is and literally going and say, whatever, hey, we need 15 minutes. So I think that's where we're at right now, just to get everybody in.
Yep.
Now, that's a long,
It'd be incredible if they could tie in the ripping down of Alpha as part of, a redevelopment
Absolutely.
of the site.
yeah, that's what I think we need to look at as a big, master plan there, and
Actually, some
to try to
benefit
get,
there.
I believe we could find some developers or some people that are interested, based on the shipping crisis, all that we just had. I think it gives a relook at those kinds of facilities. So
Well, I would also think maybe another way to approach this, and I'll give a little thought of this, is what they used to do, of course, is very much contrary to the climate goals. The production of, you know what I mean? So finding somebody perhaps in the climate, I'll think about that as somebody up in Albany who might be able to say, how about repurposing for other,
The best look is at Port of Clemens, of what they did there. That was a brick plant. I don't know if you guys ever knew what it looked like beforehand. I mean, it was, you would have never believed that was ever gonna be anything again, other than a bunch of falling down buildings along the river. It did a fantastic job. They're literally out of space there. They used up everything. They built it out. It's, they've got the marijuana factory. They got everything going on there. Plus they're importing and exporting stuff. The wind turbines, some of them are coming out of there, shipping down the river. So it's really well utilized, and a lot of jobs. There's a lot of jobs that have been created there. So,
Well, I know the state is pushing for wind. There was a big summit. I'm trying to find the presentation and report, but going from, same thing like Quebec and the city. Requests from the state of looking for places to put wind and how each county can participate in that. So it'd be great to get in on that one.
yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there with the amount of real estate
Mhm.
distribution, all that. So anyways, I just want to give you guys just kind of Renee and I have talked about it. They were in the early stages and just trying to figure out a first step here of making contact with somebody. And if anybody does come across a way to
Hello.
make contact, let me know.
Awesome.
Okay, so just under new and miscellaneous, I just wanted to make everybody aware, I belong to an IDA peer group now. It's Dutchess, Sullivan, Westchester, Rockland, Greene, and we meet monthly to discuss IDA topics. So far we've discussed updating our UTEP. So our UTEP was adopted in 1998. I think since I belonged to the IDA, we've done deviations on almost all of our pilots. So it's one of our things to look at over the summer, updating it, adding in new industries like solar and energy and possibly housing. So
I think it's a great idea.
yeah,
I think sharing information is,
so and it's very informative to see how other IDAs operate, you know, where their funding comes from and what their focus projects are.
Sure.
So several of them focus on workforce housing. So that was another topic we discussed. And our next one is labor policies, which the Greene County idea is we don't have any labor policies, so I'll be
labor policy as far as a
not
project
exactly
being
sure.
built,
Yeah,
or-
so I'm going to be looking at other
Probably
ideas.
what do they call them? Project labor agreements.
Yeah, we've,
Yeah.
you know, we've done some jobs in Albany where it's been an Albany IDA project, and I get a stack of paperwork, compliance stuff that we gotta fill out, and frankly, most of that is relative to minorities.
Right,
and,
women in business. Okay.
Workforce local to that county.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you honestly, it's just a bunch of garbage paper, you know, I don't know what that does, but other than create a lot of paperwork for somebody.
Okay.
But
That's our next topic. So I'll be sitting in just to glean.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, they rate their pilots based on this metric.
okay.
And the more you meet the metric, the more the greater the pilot. So one of the criteria is local being within the city of Albany workforce.
Right, okay.
And if you go online, that's how they do it. I'm not going to comment on that in particular, but that's what that's about.
Okay, that would be, yeah, exactly what I saw was relative to the city of Albany and that.
Correct.
So we adopted a policy in 2016 on the criteria, the evaluation of how we do our pilots, but we don't have a metric similar to some other counties.
Put it on wage right there. It's just-
Sure,
No, not
well,
yet, not yet.
No, but I think in Albany, they have, I think on some of their projects, Paul, they've gone to a project labor agreement, a PLA, which is not prevailing wage, but it's an agreement that is reached before the project starts, between labor and the developer or the project. So like they did a PLA before they did the Tappan Zee Bridge, for instance. And so all the entities got together, you know, it essentially has labor
It's a big
piece.
sign off on a union type scenario is what it
Yeah.
is, yeah. Now, in just for any project down here, obviously I think we want to avoid that at all costs if we can, because it drives the project costs through the roof, number one. Number two, if the project, even Ferguson, most of the contractors that are of that size that can handle that project, a lot of them are going to be union contractors anyways. Definitely the electricians and the trades, because that's the only way to get the workforce. So it's really, it almost takes care of itself in the
Okay.
sense of,
Okay.
you know, we're in an environment now that a lot of these larger contractors, they're so hurting for people that it's, even the wage thing, they'll pay whatever just to get a body there.
Okay.
So I don't think we want to put anything that's restrictive on our,
Projects. Okay.
exactly, just
Understood.
for mindset there.
Okay. Earlier, or probably last week, I sent out some information on a bill that we're just monitoring it for now. It hasn't left committee.
Another IDA friendly bill.
Yeah.
Not the IDA bill.
So,
not the IDA bill.
I'm watching it closely. I'm waiting for more information from New York State EDC, and then I'll update the board on that one. And then I was invited to be a guest at Building, there's a flyer, Building Sustainable Business in Athens. It's on the 24th, and our board member, Donna Williams, is a speaker.
Great.
So I'll be attending that, seeing what's going on in Athens. And I believe that is it. If you have any questions for me?
No?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so we can adjourn.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
are
Say,
those in favor?
aye.
I will end the recording. Okay. Paul, do you have anything else for us?
No.
You're good?
Yep,
Okay, so I'm going to end the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
See you.
Hey, guys.